Matthew Banks.
Hi.
First of all, where do you live right now?
In Mont-Tremblant, just outside of Mont-Tremblant, Quebec. COVID hit, and my wife, luckily for us, she was already working for Celine Dion, and Celine wanted to come up in this area, and she's like, can you come, Naomi? We're like, yeah, we're available. So it's just been a total blessing. So I'm along for the ride. I don't even have a job.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your wife?
Yeah, she's a private coach, like a physical conditioning coach for Celine. Like if Celine wasn't a singer, she'd be a dancer. And she really wanted a dancer's workout routine. And she's known Naomi, who used to be a dancer in her show at Caesars when it was the 50 dancers and Celine Dion. So they kind of got to know each other then, and long story short, she's now her personal trainer. She's like a superstar in what is the small world of dance. Naomi Steichman, YouTuber.
I've seen you perform at the shows. You're just like literally face to face. What is it like to experience that as the one that's kind of instigating the situation?
It is so exhilarating, and I gotta say, I miss it so bad. I feel like we're armed with this costume, and even way more importantly, how to be the character, this ultra curious 5-year-old superhero dog, all in one. Once you get that locked in, then yeah, you can just walk on people's chairs and like use their scalp to help you balance as you're passing over them, and stop for a bit and like really look at somebody, and even just take an extra moment and an extra moment, and it doesn't matter because it's not creepy subway guy like trying to hit on someone. It's just like, this is my job. They even understand it's my job, so they're willing to go there too. And it's this union happens. I have met and gotten to know hundreds of thousands of strangers. I don't know their name, but I really feel like I've got a sense of humanity from this job that I would never ever have had otherwise. It's a really unique perspective.
Can you speak to making decisions as far as the acting part involving the people in the audience? That's kind of a delicate thing because you can take that show in certain directions, right?
We've always said, and it's been really drilled into us, please, by our directors, please, if something goes wrong, embrace it. That is your new choice, and we want you to choose to go down that path. So like, take a direction as far as you can, or take a mistake as far as you can. Find out what is the next thing. We're allowed to just find out what all is there. Most of the moments are a question and sort of sustaining a vulnerable state. So we'll look at somebody and go through like we'll be peeling an onion of vulnerability with each other. And even though it's just one person, the parameter of 10 by 10 of people that are watching us, they really get drawn into. They feel like it's happening to them too. That just takes this is really happening level to the max. At that point, you're really just, this is happening. And that's the aha moment that most Blue Man Group audiences go through. Especially if they know nothing about it. They'll sit there and I mean, that even happened to me the very first time I watched it. And I had been auditioning and learning about the character and stuff. I was like freaked out by it. It was like dark and weird. And then all of a sudden somebody made a noise and the Blue Man totally reacted to it. And I mean, it sounds so simple. There was a noise, the Blue Man reacted to it. But I was like, oh no, this is actually happening. I had the feeling of like, if I make a noise, they're gonna look at me. Well, what am I gonna do? It's just like, just put me in this vibration that I was then watching the show from this vibration. I was like, just on the edge of my seat. And I remember just being so grateful. It was 21 years ago. I was so grateful that I'm like, I might be a part of this. Wow.
Where did you grow up? How did you end up at Blue Man Group?
Well, I feel like, I don't normally answer this question this way, but I as cheesy as it sounds, I was putting it out there. I was saying to the universe, I really want to do something creative. And that came from where I came from, which was a small farm town. I did classical piano lessons. I started singing and like doing like Richard Marx and Phil Collins songs and Billy Joel, and then I went to the cruise ship scene, and I was a piano man playing songs that everybody knew and had heard 1,000 times, and I was doing it 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and I was like, I need to do something creative. I'm like losing my mind, and all of a sudden, I was just doing the audition circuit in Toronto, which is close enough to my small town. And I just went to this audition where you had to be familiar with drumming and acting and 6-foot-ish tall. I'm like, wow, I guess I'll go to that one too. And I went, and no one else was there. I thought, oh great, it's gonna be one of those weird things. Like, I had been to weird auditions before where I was the only one, and I was made to do the most strange things, like embarrassing things. Like, I just need a job, I'll do anything. And this was one of those auditions, like no one was there. It was in an old building. Like, this is the building they rented to have auditions. But in 1998, no one in Canada knew what Blue Man Group was, unless you were like a real avant-gardist. So, but I had to do, okay, we want you to just stand and stare at the spot on the wall, and we want you to tell a story. Don't move a muscle, don't do a thing. And I was like, okay. Without making a sound either. Couldn't make a sound and I couldn't move a muscle. Basically, like, do nothing but tell us a story. You could say I was ready for it, and I was, but I also kind of had nothing to lose and everything to gain, so that was another piece of it. And then I'd already gotten crispy in the cruise ship scene and playing piano stuff, so I just was like, let me swing for the fences. I went to music theater school. After high school, I went to a music theater academy in New York, American Musical and Dramatic Academy. But I found myself spending all my spare time, not necessarily rehearsing the pieces I should have been doing, but just locking myself in a piano room and singing and playing piano. I'm like, well, this is really what I got to do. So I went off and did that. But even then, I was just like, oh my God, I'm getting fried. Whatever the 200 or 300 songs I would go through. After, a couple of months, 4 hours a day, I'm like, I've played these 300 songs 300 times and then some. So I don't know. So it was great because I was making, I remember that being like my first really awesome job where I was making tons of money. So I wanted to sustain that, but at the same time, I didn't have really, I guess, the tools to sort of navigate between working really hard and then reserving energy for even thinking about what do I really want to do. It's so hard to answer that question. If money was no object, if time was no object, what would you do? Oh, great question. I'm so used to the limitations of my life, but
that part of your life where you're kind of searching for that creative outlet led you to Blue Man Group, right?
It did. It led me to Blue Man Group. And so there's another full circle thing there. In high school, suddenly we got to choose band instruments, and I was like, drums. I want to do drums. My music teacher was like, no. And I said to my parents, I want to do drums so bad, but Mr. Mall, my music teacher, he wants me to play trombone. And so can I play drums at home? No. Like, I just want to do lessons. Just give me lessons. They're like, no. But then I would show up to school early, play the drums until school started. Then at lunchtime, go to play drums. After school, no one was there, play drums. I loved it. And I even spent my allowance secretly on drum lessons. I would say, Dad, I'm gonna go to Alex's house, and then I would go to a drum lesson and come back. Like, he's good. How's Alex? He's good. Anyway, then after high school, I got pretty good at drumming.
That is ultimate dedication, but hats off to you.
Well,
Wow.
you could say dedication, but I was just truly obsessed and maybe rebellious, and the two hand in hand created a thing. But even though after high school, I didn't really ever do drums again. I went to music theater, and there was just pianos everywhere, and I was loving that too anyway. So I guess, cut 8 years later, when finally I saw this blue band thing, they're like, we're looking for drummers. I'm like, finally, drumming's gonna come in handy. And now it's just, at the time when I got the job, I was like, see, I wanted to play drums. Now I'm playing drums. Thank you very much. I know. I wasn't, when I had to audition to get into my school, and I remember my drama teacher, she was like, you should start practicing audition if you want to go into arts programs. I'm like, okay. And she was like, here's a school in New York. You probably won't get in, and you wouldn't be able to afford it because it's so expensive. Blah, blah, blah. So, but just do it. Like, don't worry about it. So I went and did this thing, and then I always knew there's no way I'm gonna go, but at least I'll do the thing. Anyways, I guess weeks later, I got a letter that said, "You're invited. Please come and do the thing." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." Huh. I was accepted after all. Oh well, and didn't think anything of it. And I was like, at that point, I was actually still like kind of following my dad's advice, which was go to a community college and keep doing trombone. Because I did play trombone in high school as well, but my drums was my side thing. But anyway, I flippantly said to my mom, "Oh, Mama, yeah, you know that thing? I got a letter and they accepted me." She's like, "Honey, you have to go." I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna be able to go." It's like, I can't go. She's like, "No, you're invited to New York City. You have to go." And that was a moment where she broke through my glass wall of like, this is as far as I can go. And she was just like, I'm like, holy cow, okay. And she made it. She like sold a house or something. She had a couple of rental properties. She like sold a house and sent me off to New York City. So I mean, I owe so much to her vision and belief and for, I guess, inspiring that, you know, like, because she believed that much, I then was like, oh, I should also believe that much from here on out. The best thing I've ever heard is make your workout the hardest thing you do, because it's a way more of a controlled environment. And that way, when you go to your slightly less, whatever your performer job is, Blue Man could be not a controlled environment. Like I might slip on banana or trip on a foot in the aisle or whatever. So it was great that my workout was the thing where I would just almost die, pass out, or vomit working out. And then the show was like, I can do the show. I used to work out 4 to 6 times a week and do 4 to 6 shows a week. And now I'm like, wow, it is hard to get into the shape I was in, because even though I work out every single day, I mean, sometimes I'll take a sort of rest day, but still go do a long walk, but I am missing my shows. Some bodybuilder person was just like, the working out, you know, this product here is 80% kitchen, 20% workout. So 80% of how you want to look and feel is what you eat. Don't mess around. I'm really grateful for Billy Joel. He has been instrumental in developing a huge part of my way of expressing myself. You know, I mean, he just has songs that are in my range. So when I wanted to sing when I was younger and play the piano, I was like, well, this guy's got a bunch of songs. So I bought an anthology. In fact, what's funny is I actually don't know the recordings he's done as much as I just have his book and I play through. But that said, I mean, now I've been in a tribute show, a sort of Elton John, Billy Joel, and I'm Billy Joel for almost 10 years.
That I love you completely.
Have you been writing music all your life?
I mean, all my life? No, not like Mozart did. I'm more like, I've written a couple of handfuls of songs.
Everybody's got to check this out.
Oh yeah.
This is my album right here. And
amazing, Rachel. Thank you.
Oh my gosh,
so
it's
much.
actually, it's even signed, right? And then we dusted off the old record player a couple days ago. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
And that photo on that jacket, or on the that sticker, is me in New York City, probably in 1992. I used to go.
This one?
If I couldn't get into a piano studio at my school, I would go down to the Steinway Hall and just like walk in and pretend I was going to buy a piano. The Steinway Hall is so amazing. They have these ballrooms full of grand pianos, and there's usually no one in there. I would write songs in that place. It's kind of funny that ended up on there. I'd get on a 9-foot grand Steinway and be like, I'm gonna write a song now. Like, it was really, really inspiring.
And it's alright, and it's okay if you look at me that way. Yeah, as long as I can true tell that you love me.
did that album come about?
Well, the album, it is a major labor of love, and it was a thing that I felt like I had just been procrastinating doing. I have a bunch of like little singles that I put out, but I was like, I have to do my album. So that was something that I kept on procrastinating because I was like so busy with cruise ships and so busy with Blue Man Group. And I finally got to a breaking point where I was like, no matter what, I gotta just do this thing. So I had been playing music with Vincent Verderame. He's a Blue Man drummer and dear friend. He is instrumental in this being complete. He really like wrote drum parts and cares about every single song. Like every one of, songs are people's babies. These songs are my babies, but they're like kind of his nephew and nieces. Like he's really, really invested. And then I recorded it with Thaddeus, and I had actually taken a couple of swings at this album with Thaddeus in the past. I mean, he was my recording engineer, but he was also just like my producer. Like, you should try doing this and that and that, this and that. Like, okay, I'll do that. So I really am really grateful for him. And Tracy Bonham said she would sing back up. That's so awesome. I toured with Tracy in 2003 with Blue Man Group. She opened for Blue Man, and then she was part of the show. So we became pretty good friends during that. I think I'm gonna get Tracy Corea, Thaddeus Corea's wife. And she's like, that's an amazing idea. Tracy Bonham should sing on it. We're like, Tracy Bonham? She goes, yeah. Well, who do you mean? I'm like, I meant Tracy Corea, but now that you say it, I'm like, should I? She's like, yes. That was another little moment of like, should I ask her? And she was like believing in me more than I was. She's like, yeah, call her up. So I did, and she did, and yay.
That's awesome. And you also had it mastered with a master, as I like to say.
I did, yeah. I thought I'd just, since this was maybe, if this was the only album I ever put out, I wanted it to just be amazing. So yeah, I went to, what's the name of his place in LA?
His name is Dave Cooley in Elysian Masters. I know because...
Did you use them too?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he was so awesome. He's like, and I told him, this is a labor of love. This is really for my son. I want, this is my legacy. When I'm dead and gone, my son's gonna be like, my dad did this. And he was like, okay, cool. And he listened to it, mastered it, wrote back. He's like, this is really, really special. Your son is gonna love this. And I was just like, oh man, Dave Cooley, winner. I think advice that I would give kind of anybody right now, and it's because I'm actually finally applying this advice, which I've heard forever, which is, you're gonna have good days and bad days, and the work you do on your bad days is just as important. You've got to get through whatever it is. If you're a writer or a singer or whatever your craft is, and on a day where you're not really feeling like doing it, do it anyway. And that you get that much more lubricated. Especially when you do it on a hard day. And I guess what I'm applying that to now is I've been asked to sort of Matthew Banksify a couple of songs, and then also just work on a couple of things, and like, yeah, I'll do it, sounds great. And then I wake up and I say, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do this thing I said I would do. Oh, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. And then something wonderful happens. You actually dedicate yourself. Something wonderful happens. And I think I've kind of coasted through a lot of my creative existence because I had a lot of sort of euphoric serendipitousness that ended up leading me to stuff. I'm like, okay, great, that's perfect for me. And I never had to, I don't know if I've done that much trench work. And that can even be for diet. You're like, I said I would eat right today and I don't want to. I'm just gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna white knuckle it, as Todd Waitsig would say. Just white knuckle it through. And working out. Like, I need to work out today. I don't really feel like it. I'm just gonna go down there and I'm gonna do it. Even if I hate it the whole time. And then sure enough, I would get a great workout. And at the end of the day, when I really committed to eating right, I'm like, wow, I ate right. It was hard work. These are like the tiny little daily things. But how you do anything is how you do everything. If you can get that, if you can start really making that your muscle that you flex, then only good could come of it. But I feel like, I said I coasted, but a lot of my coasting was because I happened to be obsessed with what was bringing me income and validation and new friends. And I was so lucky that I was somehow tuned into something that I could obsess over. And then the obsession was the work. That is a real struggle for me. Like if during this COVID, I've been thinking about like, if I am gonna take this time to reinvent myself, I need to find a new thing that I'm obsessed with. And I haven't been able to, but all I can say is the work for that is to be open to it. There was a time when I wanted to do something creative so badly and I didn't even know Blue Man Group existed, but I put it out there and then it came. So right now, all I can say is like, every day, like I'm open to something amazing.
Know that you come through, and at least you know I'll be loving you.
Hello, everybody. Her name's Eva. But you know, actually, I wanted to say, take a moment and say that what you are doing is really inspiring, and I value it huge. I walk around daily going, oh, I should do a podcast with friends. And so anyway, you're doing this, and it's just so cool. And you've made me say things out loud that I believe in. That it's for me to say it out loud. You have actually brought me to a new level. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. We'll see each other soon, I guess.
I know. Rachel, it's so sweet to hang out with a human being and talk and stuff.